Margaret in Windsor, and this is tape 2. I can't keep going back and putting the same information on so people know where I'm coming from, like research and putting it down data so you know where I'm going. So anyway, this is the shoes. I had to live on the Appalachian Trail, and these are shoes I didn't even have back then. It was horrible how I lived up on the mountain. You talk about cold, and that's the backpack. I didn't have a backpack either. Everybody knew it around here. They still do. But anyway, what I really wanted to get told in here, I put a lot up. I just found out my husband or ex-husband, John Childers, I found out later after the antifreeze was put in me that he was CIA. Now, what happened after I did the book, I thought all this was happening to me because of the book I'd written about mind control. I'd worked for doctors, and Larry Flint was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia, outside Marietta. I lived at Moonraker Apartments on Belk Road. And the title of the book was MD, A License to Kill. Now, there's questions that who has copies. So somebody from YouTube, and they got in touch with me through email. And some of them wanted to know where they could buy it. Well, I had the antifreeze put in me. I should have died April Fool Day of 80. And instead, I got taken by this woman. I was kidnapped and taken here. I found out in late 83 after being out at Flint's. I was taken in 41 to Moulton, Alabama, and this is Lina Dempsey. She was diagnosed as a psychopath. And this whole family knew about my kidnapping. This is me, and this is in 43. I just got these photos, and this is much glossed over. They didn't have cars. I'm going to go ahead and say it because I can remember him coming in. He was the only son, James Matthew Dempsey. He was the only son in that group of girls. And I can remember it didn't mean anything to me then. It was a pigsty. They were always screaming and fighting, and it was horrible what they did. And I'm not going to tell the rest of it, all right? And you know what they want me. The ones that are left down there now would want me dead. They would try to say I'm lying. Well, I'm not. A DNA would prove it. And the fact that if you go through the tapes, I mean, the timeline, everything that happened, and it can be verified. But it would rock the world, which is under the New World Order anyway, so it's going down the tube. But anyway, people made their choices. And I remember Matthew coming in. It didn't mean anything to me till I found out about being kidnapped and who I am, and that Carl didn't just die, he was murdered. And this woman admitted it when I was up there, and I still had a car furnished by Flint. And this is in 84. And I had the endorsement, so I didn't feel like she could lock me up and say I was nuts or something like this woman did. She tried to use a mental health system to kill me, and that's what's been going on. It's who I am, and when I finally found a place here, I'm giving backup on it because all of it's true. It's hell. It's been done in plain sight. I finally got a place to live here at Edinburgh Village Retirement, and I won't get into what happened to that. I was forced to leave. It was so bad. I'm allergic to chemicals, which has nothing to do with mental illness. This has to do with... they said a trauma that happened to me in my memory when I inhale. It's a immune disorder. When you inhale certain toxic fumes, it makes your immune system attack itself, and it may sound simple. It's not. It's hell. So this has nothing to do with mental illness, which this woman, when I was kidnapped, let me say this. After then, when I married John, I hope I'm not losing anybody if they're even listening to it. I went to a Dr. Hyman Miller. I knew nothing about my birth. I thought this bitch was my mom. And anyway, I want to get back to Matthew. I can remember after I found out about Carl, my being kidnapped, and both of them were really dead. I can remember him coming in and screaming and saying, "But you fed her to the pigs." So this woman admitted it. when I had that much on me, later I went back and, of course, I didn't have his car and I didn't have a job. So it's a situation of me, and she thought she could get off on helping kill me, is what she thought. It happened there that the sheriff in Carlisle and Paris, Kentucky, were decent, honest men, and they were on my side, all right? I didn't commit any crimes. Now then, if I've lost anybody, I was kidnapped. My Uncle George helped in it, taking down my dad illegally. This is the double that married Wallace Simpson, not my dad. He was married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, from Madison, Wisconsin. This is Georgia, my aunt, the artist. This is Elizabeth, illegal, as was her father. She's living in my home, and she sold out Great Britain, so I've put that on here. And I was writing about and I want to say this, my money and the Brits and the Germans built Redstone Arsenal. This is where a lot of the people still live that were involved in some of what happened to me, and they live plush lives, and I can't even get a place to live. I'm lucky to live on the Appalachian Trail, and then they run me. But Mr. Flint's shooting was, the guy was programmed, and that's what I was writing about before I found out about being kidnapped, and I'm not going to get to what I wanted to say. These are some of the mind control murders real quick that happened later. Fort Hood shooter was a psychiatrist. He's on death row. That was after, he's finished school at Virginia Tech next door to me. This is the diplomat's son, Jens Zorings and Elizabeth Haysom, and they're in prison for a mind control murder they didn't do. And this is the Boston bomber, and this is Holmes, James Holmes of the Aurora, and this is the Sandy Hook young man that was programmed. Now, I wanted to say this. When I did the book, and I thought for a long time that it was because I wrote the book and the doctors that were involved in it and out at Emory University and all that, in Piedmont Hospital. I did not know when I moved from Moonraker into Laurelwood, just a couple of blocks up on Bentley Road in Marietta, that this woman lived at the apartment complex. She either lived there then as of the 8th of May of 79 or moved in shortly thereafter. I was having so much done to the kids that it was suggested that my ex-husband come back. He was, I thought, just a truck driver, and before then he owned a company, which I wonder if the Brits didn't finance that, their money went for it in this hell. But anyway, I signed the lease deposit, and it was a month or so, about a month later, I got a letter from the FBI, by the way, ongoing investigation, national security involved. And I went up to the manager, and I told her that a lot had happened to my kids and me, and my husband was no way on the lease or going to be living there. It was on occasion he was going to be there. So they knew, and she even said to me, the manager, my uncle was head of the investigation on the Patty Hearst kidnapping. So I won't get into all that. What I wanted to get into, I'm not going to get on this tape either, was the fact that I had antifreeze put in me, and this woman lived there. I was lured out to Texas, Abilene, Texas, by John's sister, Laura Childers Klein, who's CPA, and they had a CPA firm in Austin. They moved to Austin. She lives in, I can't think of the name outside, Lockhart, Texas. And they lured me out there, her and John, and she was going to help me get a job for a couple of weeks, and if I got it, well, I could get the kids out there, and maybe things would be different. I checked with her before I got in the car and left. I got out there mid-March. It just took me a couple of days. I didn't have money to sleep or anything. And when I started in there, I got to Dallas, I called her, and suddenly her attitude changed, and she told me to get back to Atlanta. In plain words, I got back, and they had allowed my ex-husband to come in during the couple of days I was gone, take my furniture to another complex, and there at Laurelwood, just a couple of buildings up. And the lease was in his name, my deposit, my furniture, and my kids. They never knew the truth then and there. There was even a U.S. Marshal involved in this. Marshall Carnwright. And I later spent a couple of nights with him and his wife in Marietta, and he had a big